Officer Sam Miller had been on the force for 15 years, but nothing prepared him for the 911 call that came in on that rainy Tuesday afternoon. The dispatch operator's voice crackled through his radio as he and his partner drove through the quiet streets of Greenfield. Unit 27, we have a 911 call from a very young child at 1542 Oakwood Drive. Child sounds around 3 years old. Mentioned something about his babysitter not waking up. Possible medical emergency. Sam glanced at his partner, Officer Diane Hayes, who was already turning on the sirens. Copy that, Sam responded. Unit 27 responding ETA 5 minutes. Rain pattered against the windshield as they sped through the suburban neighborhood. Greenfield was known for its low crime rate and good schools. Most of their calls here involved noise complaints or the occasional fender bender. A 3-year-old calling 911, Diane said, shaking her head. Poor kid must be scared out of his mind. They pulled up to a modest 2-story house with blue shutters and a neatly trimmed lawn. Despite the rain, colorful plastic toys were scattered across the front yard. A red tricycle, a plastic slide, a small basketball hoop sized for tiny hands. The officers approached the front door with caution. Standard procedure even in a seemingly safe situation. Sam knocked firmly. Police officers. We received a 911 call from this residence. To their surprise, the door opened almost immediately. A small boy with bright blue eyes and messy brown hair stood in the doorway. He wore dinosaur pajamas and clutched a worn teddy bear under one arm. He couldn't have been older than 3 or 4. Are you the one who called 911? Sam asked, kneeling down to eye level with the child. The boy nodded, his expression serious beyond his years. I'm Joey Armstrong. I'm 3 3/4. He held up 4 fingers, then frowned and tucked one back down. That's very good, Joey, Diane said gently. Can you tell us why you called? Joey pointed inside. My babysitter Megan won't wake up. I tried really hard. And there's people in the basement who need help too. The officers exchanged concerned glances. A medical emergency with the babysitter was one thing, but people in the basement needing help suggested something potentially more dangerous. May we come in, Joey? Sam asked. The boy nodded and stepped aside, dragging his bear along the floor. Inside, the house was tidy but lived in. Family photos lined the walls showing Joey with a couple who appeared to be in their late 30s, presumably his parents. A half-eaten sandwich and glass of juice sat on the coffee table next to a pile of children's books. On the living room couch lay a young woman, completely still. Sam approached her while Diane stayed with the child. This is Megan, Joey explained, to Diane. She was reading me stories, but then she got really sleepy. She won't wake up even when I yelled really loud. Sam checked the babysitter's vital signs. She's breathing, pulse is steady, but slow, pupils reactive. He tapped her shoulder firmly. Ma'am, can you hear me? There was no response beyond a slight flutter of eyelids. Joey, is there anyone else in the house besides you and Megan? Diane asked. Just my friends in the basement. Joey replied matter-of-factly. They talk to me in my head sometimes. They said they need help because the machines are beeping. Another concerned look passed between the officers. Children Joey's age often had imaginary friends, but something about his serious tone gave Sam pause. Where are your parents, Joey? Sam asked, radioing dispatch to request an ambulance for the unconscious babysitter. They had to go to their workplace. They're scientists. They study stars and outer space stuff. Joey's face brightened. Want to see my friends? They're from the stars too. Ambulance is 5 minutes out, Sam told Diane quietly. I'll stay with the babysitter. Why don't you check out this basement situation? Probably just his imagination, but Diane nodded. Better to be safe. Joey, can you show me where these friends are? Joey took her hand and led her toward a door next to the kitchen. Mommy and Daddy said never to go downstairs by myself. It's dangerous. But my friends need help. The door was surprisingly heavy, with what looked like an electronic lock, unusual for an interior residential door. Joey reached up and pressed a hidden button above the door frame, revealing a small keypad. I know the numbers, he said proudly. I watched Mommy do it. It's my birthday. His small fingers pressed 0317, The lock clicked open, and the door swung inward automatically. Cool air wafted up from below, along with a faint humming sound. "The stairs are steep," Joey warned, reaching for Diane's hand again. Diane switched on her flashlight as they descended. The stairwell was concrete, industrial in appearance, nothing like the cozy home above. At the bottom, motion sensors triggered lights that gradually illuminated a space that made Diane's jaw drop. The basement had been converted into what looked like a scientific laboratory. Sleek equipment lined the walls, computers displayed scrolling data, and in the center of the room stood 3 large cylindrical tanks filled with glowing blue liquid. And floating in those tanks were forms that looked almost human, but not quite. "Those are my friends," Joey said casually. "They got hurt when their flying car broke. Mommy and Daddy are helping them get better." Diane stared at the tanks, her training failing her completely. The beings inside were humanoid, but with elongated limbs, hairless heads, and silvery skin that seemed to shimmer even through the blue fluid. On one of the nearby monitors, warning lights flashed, and a low alarm beeped steadily. "Joey," Diane said slowly, finding her voice. "How long have your friends been here?" "Since the big storm when the sky had lots of shooting stars," Joey replied. "Their home is very far away. They showed me pictures of it in my dreams." Diane reached for her radio with a shaking hand. "Sam," she said, her voice barely steady, "you need to get down here and call for backup. Lots of backup." She paused, watching as one of the beings turned its head toward them, its large, dark eyes fixing on Joey with what could only be described as recognition. "And Sam," she added quietly, "you won't believe what this kid has in his basement." Sam hurried down the concrete steps to the basement, his hand resting on his holstered weapon. The scene that greeted him made him freeze mid-step. For several seconds, he could only stare at the 3 tanks and the creatures floating inside. Them. "What in the world?" he whispered. Diane stood with Joey beside one of the tanks. The boy waved at the being inside, and to Sam's astonishment, the creature raised a 6-fingered hand and seemed to wave back. "Joey says they're visitors who crashed during the meteor shower last year," Diane explained, her voice unnaturally calm, as if talking about the weather instead of what appeared to be extraterrestrial life forms. "His parents are scientists, who found them and brought them here to heal." Joey nodded eagerly. "They got really hurt when their ship broke. They can't breathe our air yet. That's why they're in the special water." Sam approached one of the tanks slowly. The being inside turned to track his movement. Its eyes were large and entirely black, set in a face that was almost human, but with smaller features and no visible nose, just 2 slits. Its skin had a silvery sheen that seemed to shift colors slightly as it moved. "The red lights mean the power's getting low," Joey explained, pointing to a control panel nearby. "They need the special water to stay warm and breathe. Mommy showed me what to do if the lights turn red." "And what's that, Joey?" Sam asked, still trying to process what he was seeing. Joey walked over to a cabinet and pulled out a small step stool. He climbed up and pressed his tiny hand against a scanner on the wall. A compartment slid open, revealing a glowing blue crystal about the size of a softball. "This is their special battery," Joey said. "It goes in there." He pointed to a socket in the central control unit. Sam and Diane watched as Joey carefully carried the crystal over to the machine. The warning lights continued to flash, and now an alarm had started to sound. "Should we let him do this?" Diane whispered to Sam. "What if it's dangerous?" "I don't think we have much choice," Sam replied. "Look." One of the beings in the tank closest to them had pressed both hands against the glass. Its mouth was moving, though they couldn't hear any sound. But Joey nodded as if listening to something. "They say they'll get sick if the machines stop," Joey reported, "like when people need to go to the hospital." With surprising confidence for a 3-year-old, Joey inserted the crystal into the socket. It clicked into place, and immediately, the red warning lights turned green. The alarm stopped. "There," Joey said with satisfaction. "All better now." Sam radioed headquarters, trying to keep his voice steady. "This is Officer Miller. We have a situation at 1542 Oakwood Drive. We need backup and..." He paused, unsure what to say next. And probably someone from the university science department, and keep this quiet. No sirens. While they waited for backup to arrive, Joey showed them around the laboratory. For a young child, he seemed remarkably knowledgeable about the equipment, though in his simple terms. "This is where Mommy takes pictures of their insides," he said, pointing to what looked like an advanced medical imaging device. "And this is where Daddy makes the special water they breathe." "Joey," Diane asked gently, "where are your Mommy and Daddy now?" "They went to get more medicine for my friends," Joey explained. "From their other workplace. They said they'd be back before dinner time." He looked at the clock on the wall, which read 4:30 p.m. "They should come home soon." Sam examined a desk in the corner of the lab. It was covered with notebooks filled with complex equations and diagrams. A laptop sat open, its screen displaying what appeared to be a 3D model of DNA, but with structures Sam had never seen before. "Officer Hayes," Sam called. "You should see this." On the wall behind the desk were photos of what must have been the crashed spacecraft. It had landed in a wooded area, its metallic hull partially buried in dirt. The craft was surprisingly small, about the size of a large van with an oval shape and no visible windows. Other photos showed Joey's parents, both wearing protective suits, helping the three beings out of the crashed vehicle. The aliens appeared injured in these photos, their silvery skin marred with what looked like burns or cuts. "They're not ready to go home yet," Joey said, having wandered over to look at the photos with the officers. "Their flying car broke too. Bad. Daddy says they need to build a special phone to call their friends." Before either officer could respond, they heard footsteps upstairs. The paramedics had arrived for the babysitter. Sam hurried up to intercept them, leaving Diane with Joey. "Wait here," Sam told the paramedics after letting them in. "The situation is more complicated than we initially thought." He checked on the babysitter again. She was still unconscious but stable. Then he pulled out his phone and called his captain directly, stepping onto the front porch for privacy. "Captain, this is Miller. We have a situation here that's way beyond our pay grade. I need you to contact the FBI, possibly NASA, and get someone here who has clearance to handle." He lowered his voice further. "What appears to be extraterrestrial life forms." After a pause, he added, "No, sir, I'm not joking. And there's a 3-year-old boy involved who seems to be able to communicate with them somehow." When he returned, inside, Diane was coming up the stairs with Joey. "One of them showed me pictures in my head," she said quietly to Sam. "I can't explain it, but I saw their home world. It's beautiful, Sam, and very far away." Joey tugged at Sam's sleeve. "My friends say more people are coming. Lots of them. They can feel it." He looked up at Sam with worried eyes. "Will the bad men take my friends away? Mommy said some people might want to hurt them. That's why it's a big secret." Sam knelt down to look Joey in the eyes. "We're police officers, Joey. Our job is to help people who need help and keep them safe. That includes your friends." Joey studied Sam's face intently, then nodded, apparently satisfied with what he saw there. "Okay, but my friends need to stay. In their special water. They can't breathe our air yet." Outside, they heard the sound of several vehicles pulling up. Through the window, Sam saw black SUVs with government plates. Men and women in suits began to approach the house. "Here we go," Sam said to Diane. "Follow my lead, this is about to get a lot more complicated." The men and women in dark suits moved into the house with purpose. They showed badges that identified them as FBI agents. The lead agent, a tall woman with short gray hair named Agent Kathy Wilson, spoke quietly with Sam and Diane while others secured the perimeter. "Officers, I need you to tell me exactly what you found," Agent Wilson said. Sam gestured toward Joey, who was now sitting on the couch next to the still unconscious babysitter, watching cartoons that Diane had turned on to keep him occupied. "Maybe we should talk somewhere the boy can't hear," Sam suggested. Agent Wilson nodded and they stepped into the kitchen. "There are 3 non-human beings in the basement," Sam explained in a low voice. "They appear to be extraterrestrial. The boy Joey says his parents are scientists who found them after a crash during last year's meteor shower," Agent Wilson's expression remained neutral, but her eyes widened slightly. And where are the parents now? According to Joey, they went to get medicine or supplies for the aliens. They're expected back soon. The agent nodded. We intercepted their car 20 minutes ago. They're being brought here now. They were carrying some unusual equipment and materials. Sam felt a spike of concern. How did you know to come here? We only called this in a short time ago. The power surge, Agent Wilson explained. The house is drawing 10 times the electricity of neighboring properties. It triggered an automated alert in our systems. We monitor unusual power consumption patterns because they can indicate anything from drug operations to, well, she glanced toward the basement door, other situations of national security. Through the window, they saw another black SUV pull up. 2 people emerged from the back seat, escorted by agents. The man and woman were in their late 30s, dressed in casual clothes but with ID badges clipped to their belts. They looked worried rather than frightened. Joey's parents, I presume, Agent Wilson said. Joey must have heard the new arrivals because he came running into the kitchen. "Mommy! Daddy!" he called out as the front door opened. Dr. Peter Armstrong and Dr. Linda Armstrong rushed to embrace their son. "Joey, are you okay?" Linda asked, checking him over anxiously. "I'm fine, Mommy. I called the police like you taught me when Megan wouldn't wake up. And I helped the friends when their machines got the red lights." Peter looked up at the officers and agents, his face showing both fear and resignation. "We can explain everything." "I'm sure you can, Dr. Armstrong," Agent Wilson said. "But first, we need to secure the basement facility and assess the condition of your guests." Linda stood up, still holding Joey's hand. "They're not dangerous. They're scholars, researchers from their world. Their ship malfunctioned during a routine survey. They just want to go home." "We'll need to verify that," Agent Wilson replied. "Scientists from various government agencies are already on their way." "They need the special water to breathe," Joey piped up, "and they get scared of too many new people all at once." Linda looked down at her son with a mix of pride and sadness. "Joey has a unique connection with them. We discovered it by accident. Their species communicates partly through telepathy, and Joey's developing brain is somehow receptive to it. We would never have done anything to harm our son," Peter added quickly, seeing the looks on the officers' faces. "The connection happened spontaneously. We've monitored Joey carefully for any negative effects, but there haven't been any. In fact, his cognitive abilities have advanced well beyond his age." Agent Wilson considered this information. "I'd like to see these beings now. Dr. Armstrong, you'll accompany us to explain the equipment." Peter nodded. "Of course, but please, remember they're intelligent beings who deserve respect and dignity." As they all headed toward the basement door, medical personnel entered the house to attend to Megan, the babysitter. One of them approached the group. "She appears to have been given a mild sedative," the paramedic reported. "She'll be fine, but we'd like to take her to the hospital for monitoring." Linda looked embarrassed. "That was our fault. When she arrived earlier than expected today, she saw me coming up from the basement. We couldn't risk her discovering what was down there, so Peter gave her tea with a mild sleeping agent. We planned to be back before it wore off and explained that she had fallen asleep naturally." Sam frowned. "That's illegal, Dr. Armstrong." "We know," Peter admitted, "but we were trying to protect beings who would be dissected in a government lab if the wrong people found them. We had to make difficult choices." In the basement, the scene had changed. The 3 aliens were now alert, all facing the doorway, as the group descended the stairs, their large black eyes fixed on the newcomers. "They know you're here," Joey said matter-of-factly. "They can feel all the people thinking." Linda went to a console and checked the readings. "Their vital signs are elevated. They're stressed by all the new mental signatures." Joey walked up to one of the tanks and placed his small hand against the glass. The alien inside mirrored his action, its 6-fingered hand spread against the barrier. "It's okay," Joey said aloud. "These people won't hurt you." Agent Wilson watched this interaction with fascination. The boy really can communicate with them. "Yes," Peter confirmed. "We believe Joey acts as a kind of translator. His brain converts their telepathic signals into concepts he can understand, and vice versa. One of the other FBI agents approached with a tablet. "Agent Wilson, we've confirmed the Armstrongs' identities. They're both xenobiologists with top security clearance, working on the SETI program at Berkeley. No criminal records, not even a parking ticket. That doesn't explain why they decided to hide an alien crash landing from the government," Wilson replied. Linda looked up from the console. "We reported the meteor strike. But when we investigated and found survivors, we saw an opportunity that might never come again. Direct contact, without interference, without panic, without military involvement. We wanted to understand them as people, not as specimens." "They showed us their world," Peter added. "Their civilization is thousands of years ahead of ours, but they're peaceful explorers. They have so much knowledge they could share." Joey tugged at Agent Wilson's sleeve. "My friends say they want to talk to you now. They say they can show you pictures in your head if you let them." Wilson looked uncertain for the first time. "Is it safe?" "Completely," Linda assured her. "They're weak and still recovering. The connection is gentle, more like watching a movie, than anything invasive." After a moment's hesitation, Wilson nodded. "All right." Joey led her to the central tank, where the tallest of the three beings floated. "Just look into their eyes and try not to think too hard about anything." Agent Wilson did as instructed, locking eyes with the alien. For several moments nothing seemed to happen, then her expression changed to one of wonder. "My God," she whispered. "I can see stars, cities. They're showing me their home." 3 days passed since Joey's 911 call changed everything. The Armstrong house now served as the center of the most important scientific discovery in human history. A large tent covered the backyard, filled with equipment and scientists. Military personnel guarded the perimeter, keeping curious neighbors and reporters away. Inside the house, Joey sat at the kitchen table eating cereal. Despite all the commotion, his parents tried to maintain a normal routine for him. Sam and Diane had been assigned to stay with the family, partly as security and partly because they were already involved. "More scientists are coming today," Joey announced between spoonfuls of cereal. "From other countries," Linda nodded, pouring herself coffee. "That's right. How did you know that?" "The friends told me. They can see the future a little bit. Not everything, just some things." Peter entered the kitchen carrying a tablet. "The United Nations has formed a special committee. Representatives from 12 countries will be arriving this afternoon to meet our visitors." Sam looked up from his own coffee. "How are they doing? The aliens, I mean." "Much better," Peter replied. "Their recovery has accelerated now that we have proper medical equipment. We think they might be able to breathe our air soon, at least for short periods." A knock at the front door interrupted them. Agent Wilson entered, followed by a tall man in a suit who carried himself with authority. "Dr. Armstrong, this is Director Frank Collins from the National Science Foundation," Wilson introduced. "He'll be overseeing the international cooperation aspects of our project. Sam noted how quickly the government had shifted from treating this as a potential threat to claiming ownership. He glanced at Joey, who was watching the newcomer with unusual intensity. "He doesn't like the aliens," Joey said suddenly. The adults all turned to look at him. Director Collins seemed startled. "Joey, that's not polite," Linda said gently. "But it's true," Joey insisted. "He's thinking they should be taken somewhere else. Somewhere secret." Collins recovered quickly. "Kids say the darndest things, don't they?" He laughed, but no one joined him. "Joey has a telepathic connection with our visitors," Peter explained. "He sometimes picks up stray thoughts from adults who have strong emotions about them." Collins frowned. "I see. Well, regardless of what thoughts the boy might think he's picking up, I'm here to facilitate cooperation. The discoveries your extraterrestrial friends can share could advance our technology by centuries." "They're not here to give us technology," Joey said, returning to his cereal. "They're just scientists like Mommy and Daddy. They study other worlds to learn about them." Wilson gave Collins a warning look. "Perhaps we should continue this discussion downstairs. The visitors have expressed interest in meeting Director Collins." As they headed toward the basement, Sam hesitated, then decided to follow. Over the past few days, he had developed a protective feeling toward the aliens. Officer Hayes stayed with Joey, who seemed content to finish his breakfast. The basement had been transformed. The 3 tanks still dominated the center of the room, but now they were surrounded by advanced monitoring equipment. A team of scientists worked at various stations. One of the tanks had been modified, with what looked like an airlock chamber attached to it. The aliens watched Collins as he entered. Sam had learned to recognize their subtle expressions over the past days. They seemed wary. "We've made a breakthrough in communication," explained Dr. Eliza Gonzalez, the linguistics expert, who had joined the team. "Using Joey as a reference point, we've developed a basic translation algorithm. The visitors can now communicate directly through text." She pointed to a screen where words appeared. "We welcome new human. We are scholars of life." Collins nodded. Stiffly. "Ask them about their propulsion technology. How did they travel between stars?" "Director," Peter interjected, "they've been very clear that they won't share advanced technology that could be weaponized. Their society has strict rules about interference with developing civilizations." "Developing?" Collins looked offended. "We're the most advanced civilization on this planet." Words appeared on the screen. "Your species shows great promise, but you are young. Still learning to use fire without burning your home." Sam suppressed a smile. The aliens had quickly developed a talent for metaphor. "We need to move them to a secure facility," Collins said to Agent Wilson, lowering his voice, but not enough. "The implications for national security are too great to leave them in a suburban basement." More text appeared. "We stay with Joey friend. We heal faster with his mind touch. Soon, we communicate with our people." "What does that mean?" Collins demanded. "They can contact their home world." Linda stepped forward. "They've been working with us to build a quantum communication device. It uses principles we barely understand, but it should allow them to send a message to their people." "And what exactly will this message say?" Collins asked sharply. "That they're alive and recovering," Peter explained. "That humans helped them, not harmed them. That we're ready for peaceful contact." Collins shook his head. "This is moving too fast. We need time to prepare, to consider all implications." One of the scientists monitoring the tanks called out, "Dr. Armstrong, we're detecting changes in Tank 1's environment. The oxygen levels are adjusting." Everyone turned to look at the central tank. The alien inside, whom they had nicknamed Scholar as the apparent leader of the group, had moved to the side of the tank where the airlock was attached. "They're initiating the air exposure protocol we discussed," Linda said excitedly. "They want to try breathing our atmosphere." "Now? Without proper authorization?" Collins protested. Peter ignored him, rushing to the control panel. "All readings are within safe parameters. They've been adapting their physiology gradually. I think they're ready." Sam noticed movement at the stairs and saw Joey coming down with Diane close behind. "They called me," Joey explained. "They want me here for the first meeting without the water." The aliens in the other 2 tanks moved closer to the glass, watching intently as Scholar positioned itself in the airlock chamber. Peter initiated the sequence, draining the blue fluid while gradually introducing an air mixture. "Remarkable," Dr. Gonzalez murmured, watching the readings. "Their cellular structure is actually transforming to process oxygen instead of the liquid medium." When the chamber was fully drained, Scholar stood upright for the first time. The being was tall, nearly 7 feet, but slender. Its silvery skin glistened with residual moisture. It wore no clothing, but its body had no visible reproductive organs, just smooth skin with subtle patterns that seemed to shift with its movements. The outer door of the chamber opened with a soft hiss. Scholar took a cautious step forward, then another. Its movements were graceful despite having been suspended in liquid for so long. Joey broke away from Diane and ran forward. Before anyone could stop him, he stood directly in front of the alien. Scholar knelt down, bringing its face level with the boys. For a long moment, they simply looked at each other. Then Scholar raised a 6-fingered hand and gently touched Joey's cheek. "Hello, my friend," Scholar said in a voice that was surprisingly melodic, though slightly raspy from disuse. "Thank you for saving us." Director Collins stared in shock. It speaks English? They learned from Joey's mind, Linda explained, her voice filled with wonder. They've been absorbing language all this time. Scholar looked up at the assembled humans. We have much to discuss, it said. About your world, and ours, and about what comes next. 6 months passed since that first meeting with Scholar outside the tank. The world had changed forever. After careful preparation, the existence of extraterrestrial visitors was revealed to the public. The initial panic and disbelief gradually gave way to curiosity and hope. The Armstrong house had been purchased by the government and transformed into a proper research facility, but with all the comforts of a home maintained in one wing for the family. Joey, now 4 years old, continued to serve as the primary bridge between humans and the visitors, who called themselves the Lumini. On a warm fall morning, Joey sat in the garden with Scholar. All 3 aliens could now breathe Earth's air comfortably for several hours at a time. They wore simple blue robes designed to protect their sensitive skin from the sun. Their appearance still drew stares from newcomers, but to Joey, they were simply his friends. Your quantum communication device worked, Joey said, picking a flower and examining it closely. Your people know you're safe now. Scholar nodded. Yes. They were most relieved. They had believed us lost in the accident. Will they come here? Joey asked. Not yet, Scholar replied. We agreed it would be too soon. Your world needs time to adjust to our existence before meeting more of us. Sam approached them, carrying 2 cups of lemonade. In the months since the discovery, he had been assigned permanently to the Armstrong case, serving as both security and liaison with local authorities. He had also become something of an uncle figure to Joey. Thought you might be thirsty, Sam said, handing a cup to Joey. Sorry, Scholar, I wasn't sure what you'd want. I am fine, thank you, Sam Miller, Scholar replied. We consumed nutrition supplements this morning. Sam sat down on a nearby bench. The press conference is scheduled for 2 o'clock. Are you ready, Joey? Today marked an important milestone. For the first time, Joey would appear publicly alongside the Lumini to answer children's questions about the visitors. The event would be broadcast globally. I'm ready, Joey said with the confidence that still surprised adults around him. The questions will be easy. Inside the house, preparations were underway. Peter and Linda Armstrong worked with a team of scientists and government officials to prepare visual aids and demonstrations that would help young viewers understand the Lumini. Director Collins had been replaced after his attempts to move the aliens to a military facility came to light. The new liaison, Dr. Maya Patel from the United Nations Space Affairs Division, had a more diplomatic approach. She understood that forcing the visitors to comply with human demands would only damage the relationship. The children's questions have been screened, Dr. Patel told the Armstrongs. Most want to know simple things. What the Lumini eat, if they have families, what games they play on their planet. Scholar has prepared answers with Joey's help, Linda replied. They're careful to use concepts children can understand. The other 2 Lumini, who had chosen the names Navigator and Healer to reflect their roles on the exploration mission, entered the room. Their movements were more fluid now, more comfortable in Earth's gravity. We have finished our discussion with your world leaders, Navigator announced. They have agreed to the knowledge exchange protocols. This had been a major point of contention. Some nations wanted immediate access to the Lumini's advanced technology, while others feared the consequences of too much progress too quickly. The compromise involved carefully selected scientific and medical knowledge, shared gradually over the next decade. And what about the signal? Peter asked. Healer held up a small, crystalline device that glowed with soft blue light. It is ready. After today's event with the young ones, we will activate it. The signal was designed to mark Earth as a protected developing world in galactic coordinates. It would alert any passing Lumini vessels to make contact peacefully, and to share the news that their missing explorers had been found. Officer Diane Hayes arrived, now serving as the head of a special police unit created to handle security for the facility. The media trucks are setting up outside the perimeter, she reported, and there's a crowd gathering, mostly families with children. In the 6 months since the discovery, The quiet suburb had become a pilgrimage site. People came from around the world hoping to catch a glimpse of the visitors. Most were peaceful, curious, but security remained tight. At noon, Joey went to his room to change into the clothes his mother had laid out. Simple but formal attire for his television appearance. As he buttoned his shirt, he felt a familiar touch in his mind. "You are nervous, Joey friend." Scholar's thoughts came to him. "A little," Joey admitted, speaking aloud even though it wasn't necessary for their communication. "There will be so many people watching." "Remember what I showed you about our world?" Scholar's mental voice continued. "How our young ones learn to calm their thoughts when facing new challenges." Joey closed his eyes and practiced the Lumini meditation technique. His racing heartbeat slowed. "Thank you," he said. When he came downstairs, everyone was gathered in the living room making final preparations. His parents looked proud but anxious. "You'll do great, buddy," Sam assured him, adjusting Joey's collar. "I know," Joey said simply. They prepared to leave for the auditorium where the event would be held. Joey suddenly stopped and turned to Scholar. "I just realized something," he said. "If I hadn't called 911 that day, if the police hadn't come," he looked at Sam and Diane, "you might have never been found. You might have gotten sick when the power went out." Scholar knelt down to Joey's level. "In our culture, we believe some connections are meant to be. The universe has patterns we cannot always see. Your brave action that day was part of such a pattern." "A lucky coincidence?" Sam suggested. "We do not believe in coincidence," Navigator said. "The child called for help. The right people came. We were saved. Now your world begins, a new chapter." When they arrived at the auditorium, hundreds of children sat with their parents waiting excitedly. A hush fell over the crowd as Joey walked onto the stage holding Scholar's hand, followed by the other Lumini. Joey stepped up to the microphone, looking tiny against the backdrop of the stage, but his voice was clear and confident. "Hi everyone, my name is Joey Armstrong. I'm 4 years old. These are my friends from another world. They came here by accident, but now they're helping us learn new things. They want to meet you and answer your questions." A little girl raised her hand and was given a microphone. "Do they miss their home?" she asked. Joey looked up at Scholar, who nodded encouragingly. "Yes," Joey answered. "They miss their home, just like you would miss yours. But they told me that making new friends helps them feel better. And now, Earth is becoming their second home." As more children asked their questions, news cameras broadcasted the event worldwide. For the first time in human history, children from every country watched as a young boy showed them that the universe was bigger, stranger, and more wonderful than anyone had imagined. And it had all begun with a 3-year-old's 911 call.